Over the last 2 days I did solo runs with the Meganium-line and the Typhlosion-line. I think the results were a bit surprising. I won't spoil them right now, but there will be spoilers later into the video. You have been warned. Today I'm going to be playing the final starter, so this is a solo challenge of Pokemon HeartGold using only the Feraligatr-line. These are the rules, and they're also in the description for later on. Okay, so all of you will know that Feraligatr is by far the best starter in these games. In Pokemon Crystal, it really outperformed both of the other two starters, and currently it's the only starter in the S tier. Although I will admit these results are kind of stale now. I definitely need to go back and take a more modern approach to all of the starters. That said, when I do that, I am sure that Feraligatr is still going to be the best. Now this Pokemon got even better in Generation 4 because of the physical special split. In Generation 2, all water, ice, and dark type moves deal special damage, utilizing Totodile's lower attacking stat. But in Generation 4, the moves that it gets are mostly physical, with the exception of the early game Water Gun at level 6. So today, it's going to be hitting with its higher attack stat. Let's quickly go through Totodile's base stats: 50 HP, 65 attack, 64 defense, 43 speed, 44 special attack, and 48 special defense. It has a medium slow growth rate. In these first attempt playthroughs featuring evolution, I am only using hardy natures and hidden power is banned. For an ability, it has torrent, so once it falls below 33% health, the damage that it deals with water type moves will be increased by 50%. Okay, I haven't gone through the move pool at the beginning of these videos in a little while, so let's do that now. Totodile starts with Scratch and Leer, then learns Water Gun, Rage, Bite, Scary Face, Ice Fang, which is going to be very important, Flail, Crunch, Slash, Screech, Thrash, Aqua Tail, Superpower, and Hydro Pump. Overall, this is a really good level up set. Bite and Crunch are both physical, Ice Fang is also physical, and while it does get Aqua Tail, a physical water type move, it is going to get a better option, which is Waterfall. Although that comes after I defeat the Rockets in Radio Tower, so only before Clair. Outside of that, it still gets access to good coverage, some special moves in the form of Water Pulse, Ice Beam, Blizzard, and Surf, and physical moves in the form of Iron Tail, Return, Dig, Brick Break, Rock Tomb, Aerial Ace, Shadow Claw, and Rock Slide. I do just want to mention, you might think Brick Break is fantastic, but it's walled off in the post game. You have to buy it with BP later on, so I'm not going to have it in solo challenges of HeartGold. And out of all of this, I have not mentioned the most important thing. The Totodile line gets access to Swords Dance, so as soon as I arrive in Goldenrod City, this run is going to get turbo boosted. In the early game, you might think that Sprout Tower would be problematic, but it really isn't. My attack stat is high enough, and I have Scratch, which does neutral damage. So while I am weak to these grass types, they don't end up causing any problems for Totodile. At level 13, I learn the move Bite, and then I move on to Falkner's gym. He leads with a Pidgey. I one-shot with Bite. His Pidgeotto comes out next. I level up to 16. It's using Gust, not doing very much damage, because Totodile has pretty good defense. After that, I hit with 2 more bites and his ace goes down. This is about what I was expecting. Totodile is fantastic. One small downside that I mentioned yesterday in the Typhlosion video is that it evolves at a higher level, so I have to wait till level 18 to get a Croconaw. However, after that, it's going to speed up once again, because it evolves into Feraligatr at level 30. I'm not really sure why the developers did this. I'm curious to hear your hypotheses. Hypotheses? Well, I'm curious to hear you hypothesize about why the developers gave it such a low final evolution level. By the way, recently on YouTube, I've been frustrated with creators whenever they say something without researching it and they just go like, I don't know. So I did look it up. It is hypotheses. On Route 36, I skipped getting the Hardstone from Arthur, but overall, I think this is a mistake, because in Union Cave, I'm going to pick up the TM for Rock Tomb. But before I do that, I catch myself a Sandshrew and then I backtrack just outside of the cave to smash this boulder, because behind it is the Shell Bell. I guess instead of backtracking for the Hardstone, I can just use this as a held item for Bugsy. I'm pretty sure Rock Tomb will still have enough damage to knock out the Scyther in a single hit. The Spinner Hiker Russell catches me. By the way, I have not modded out Spinners yet in HeartGold. It's something I probably will do when I start doing single species runs, but for now I'm going to leave them implemented as they were in the vanilla game. Defeating him levels Totodile up to 18, where it evolves into Croconaw. This is a pretty good boost to my base stats, 15 across the board with the exception of defense, which gets a 16-point boost. Okay, nothing much to say in the next section of the game. I've been doing B plot lines in these videos, but today I want to stay just focused on the solo challenge because I really want you to see just how good this Pokemon is in this format. And in that spirit, it's time to take on Bugsy. Scythers first, my move pool is really good here. Bite, Ice Fang, Water Gun, and Rock Tomb. Of course, the last of these moves does 4 times damage and it one-shots his lead. From there, he only has a Metapod and a Kakuna left, so yeah, of course I win. The Rival's next. Ghastly's first, but I have Bite, it's super effective. Then he sends in his Bayleaf, but I have Ice Fang, which is super effective. I knock it out over 2 turns, leading to the Zubat, and I can just continue using Ice Fang here. I really just want to quickly sing this move's praise. It might only have 95% accuracy, but it has a 10% chance to flinch and a 10% chance to freeze. Plus it gives Croconaw really good coverage. Super effective damage against Dragon-type Pokemon and against Grass-type Pokemon. My weakness right now is Electric types, which I don't have a Ground-type move to cover for, but just around the corner in National Park, I'm going to be able to pick up the TM for Dig. In the forest, I make my mandatory stop by the move tutor for Headbutt, teaching this move to Croconaw in the place of Water Gun. Yes, I don't have a same type attack bonus move right now, but I don't think that matters. I would rather have all physical moves, because in Goldenrod City, I'm going to play Voltorb Flip until I can buy myself a Swords Dance TM. I also picked up a bunch of other miscellaneous stuff like a Substitute TM and things like that, but it's not relevant right now, because going into the fight against Whitney, all I need is the move that sets up my attack. My set is now Bite, Ice Fang, Headbutt, and Swords Dance. I can use Swords Dance to boost my attack by 2 stages. I do this up to +4, and then I figured I had enough attack. I can one-shot the lead Clefairy. Miltank comes in. I'm not able to one-hit, but it's not doing nearly enough damage to me because Croconaw has decent defenses. So Whitney is another walk in the park. Okay, check this out. I'm heading north of Goldenrod City. I'm gonna draw your attention to my movement here. I go over to the left wall, bump into the trainer so I don't accidentally fight this person, and then I can walk all the way right just past the little sign and go north of that to avoid the trainer's view. If I want to skip the next 2 trainers though, I have to run around behind and fight the guy who has 2 Digletts. Luckily, the trainers on this section of the route aren't a threat. The one trainer who does catch me has 2 Magmar, and I wasn't scared. But I should have been, because the first one burns Croconaw, lowering the damage from physical moves. I thought I would still be able to do enough to 2-shot the next Magmar with Headbutt, but I end up being wrong, and I have to take my first blackout here. Normally in my videos I would say something like, I'm embarrassed to have this loss, but I'm really not. I'm just flabbergasted with how absurd it is that I could have lost there. Anyways, let's move on to Ecruteak City. Here I can make a stop by the mart, because in Generation 4, the items that are available for purchase depend specifically on the number of badges you have. Once you've obtained 3, then you can purchase Super Repels. So unlike Pokemon Crystal, where I buy my Super Repels in Olivine City, I am now going to be buying them here in Ecruteak City. Next, I have to take on the rival in Burned Tower. Once again, Ice Fang is fantastic coverage against the Bayleaf, and I even take my time to set up twice with Swords Dance before knocking it out, since it established Reflect. Beyond that, it's a simple fight, so now let's take on Morty. I want everyone to appreciate the timing and coincidence in this fight. I didn't plan this. I knock out the Ghastly using Bite, level up to 30, and Croconaw can learn Crunch. So that's going to give me fantastic damage against his remaining Pokemon. I don't outspeed the Gengar, but it goes for Shadow Ball, does about half, and then I knock it out with a single Crunch. Beyond that, both of the Hunters fall to a single hit from the Dark-type move, so easy battle. And if I had leveled up and got Crunch before the fight, then I would have evolved into Feraligatr, making it even easier. With my starter evolving into its final stage, I get +20 in all of my base stats, with the exception of attack, where I get +25. Interestingly enough, these starters don't have the same base stat totals. This always seems a little bit off to me. Typhlosion has the most and Meganium has the least. But it's really not going to hold Feraligatr back because it has Swords Dance. This move is so good that I don't really know what to say about the next section of the game. I have to do the Lighthouse. I get experience points here. Then I have to sail over to Chuck's gym. I get some experience points doing this as well. And then I go up against the 5th gym leader. It is a straightforward battle. Primeape isn't very good, so I'm just going to set up Swords Dance against it, get to +4, and then sweep his team. Headbutt one-shots his lead, I move on to the Poliwrath, and while I can't one-shot, it just flinches and I knock it out for free. Now, I really want to emphasize to you just how good Feraligatr is in this section of the game, so I do some rocket stuff, and then I'm ready to take on Pryce. No problems from Chuck all the way until the next gym leader. This one is a little bit less straightforward because the seal can hit with Icy Wind, lowering my speed, and then potentially the Dugong and the Piloswine could move first. However, it sets up Hail on the first turn, so it doesn't lower my speed right away, giving me 2 uses of Swords Dance, and I think that's all I need. I was a little bit disappointed with Icy Wind because it does lower my speed to 54, so Dugong has 1 more point than Feraligatr. But Pryce chooses to send in Piloswine next, Headbutt 1-shots, and I move on to his final Pokemon. The fact of the matter is, even though he outspeeds me, he only has moves that are not very effective, Ice Shard and Aurora Beam. So Feraligatr gets another simple win. Okay, but what about Jasmine? You might be worried with my current moveset. It's not a problem, I can just teach Surf to Feraligatr. Even though this move is special, utilizing my worst attacking stat, it's fine, because it still is able to one-hit both of the Magnemites, and it is super effective against the Steelix, getting a one-hit on her ace as well. It continues to be useful in the Rocket plotline against Petrol because his Coughing have weak special defense stats, so I can use Surf to one-shot all of them, including the Wheezing. Well, I got a critical hit. I'm not sure if it would have one-hit without the crit, probably not. Either way, this battle is easy. In the Underground, I go up against the rival. Pretty simple here. Surf doesn't one-hit the Golbat, which is a little bit frustrating. Ice Fang does crit the Meganium though, and from there things get easier. One-hit the Magnemite with Surf, one-hit the Haunter with Crunch, and just barely two-hit the Sneasel with Surf. The final executive in Radio Tower has Pokemon that are all weak to Surf, so Feraligatr continues chewing its way through the competition. In Ice Path, I actually have something to talk about. Number 1, I'm holding the Mystic Water now, boosting the power of Water-type moves. I did that before Jasmine. It wasn't really relevant to mention back then because Surf was just good enough, but while I'm talking about held items, I might as well also mention the Nevermelt Ice, which I'm going to pick up here, which can increase the damage of Ice Fang. I think this might be relevant against Lance, so I want to grab it now. I could also pick up the TM for Avalanche, but I don't think it's going to be necessary and it has lower priority. I would prefer to not have to move second with my Ice-type moves, so I'm going to keep Ice Fang instead. And Ice-type moves are going to be very relevant soon because Clair is next. Of all the gym leaders I've faced so far, she is probably the most intimidating for Feraligatr. Literally, because the Gyarados lowers my attack stat. It's also doing decent damage with Dragon Rage because my HP isn't exceptional. I set up twice with Swords Dance to +3 and then I use Ice Fang, and it does knock out her lead. Next, she sends in Dragonair. As long as I don't miss here, I should be fine. If I do miss though, they could hit me with Thunder Wave, slowing Feraligatr down and giving the Kingdra a chance to win. I don't miss an Ice Fang though, so I make it to her ace with full speed. And this allows me to move first, but I don't have enough damage to one-shot. She lowers my accuracy with Smokescreen, I miss once, Kingdra attacks with Dragon Pulse, taking Feraligatr down to 7 hit points, and my final Ice Fang hits, knocking her ace out. Okay, Feraligatr, this thing is a beast. Except against that one guy who had Magmar. Outside of the Blackthorn gym, I grab the Soft Sand, which will increase the power of Earthquake later into the playthrough. Then I head to the Move Deleter's house to get rid of Surf, because I can now teach my Feraligatr Waterfall. Technically, I could have done this a little bit earlier, but I didn't think I needed to make the move switch for Clair. But I wanted to make sure I was as prepared as possible for the Kimono girls, because Speedrunner told me that they're very good, and I think Feraligatr's run is a good way of demonstrating that. Up until now, no problems, but then the Kimono girls come along, and this is where the cracks in Feraligatr start to show. I knock out Umbreon, taking only a tiny amount of damage, and the Espeon that follows isn't an issue because Crunch one-shots. Waterfall continues the spree against Flareon, getting a one-shot, but then I have to go up against Jolteon, and it's very fast, 110 speed. That's 7 more points than Feraligatr, so it's going to move first. It hits with Thunderbolt, does massive damage, and also inflicts paralysis. While I am able to knock it out with my attack, I have to go up against Vaporeon in a very bad state because you don't have a chance to heal between these battles, and as per my rules, I can't use items in battle. Crunch does less than half to the bulky water type, and because of this, Feraligatr gets its first reset here. I figured this would be fine if I don't get a status condition from the Jolteon, and luckily it just goes for double team in the next battle, so I knock it out taking no damage. As a result of this, I'm able to defeat the Vaporeon. I run away from Ho-Oh, which feels a little bit strange. Then I grab the Earthquake TM and go up against the rival before the league. This fight is actually free because the Sneasel has nothing that it can do to us. It's going to be using moves like Feint Attack instead of Icy Wind, preserving my speed stat. Feraligatr is faster than every single one of his team members, and the Sneasel is so weak it can set up to +6 attack and then sweep everything. Maybe the only way I lose is if I miss with Ice Fang on critical targets, but even then I think Feraligatr would have pulled through. So let's see if the league is going to slow it down. I don't think so though. Will is first. Now I should mention that setting up here with Swords Dance is a little bit risky because the Xatu has Confuse Ray. When you increase your attack stat, you deal more damage to yourself in confusion. Thing is, I just get lucky and it uses U-turn instead of confusing me, and with +2 attack, I figured this would be enough. I one-shot Jinx, the first Xatu when it gets sent back in, the Executor, the Slowbro even, as well as the final Xatu. With Will being a clean sweep, I was expecting the same thing against Koga, and yeah, it is a clean sweep as well. I set up on the Ariados, and from there I can just use Waterfall to knock it out, the Fortress, the Muck. It's also more powerful than Ice Fang against the Crobat, so I just continue using the Water type move, and even the Venomoth, which is an electric grass type, is not an issue. Okay, are you expecting the league to get more challenging? Because you shouldn't be. Bruno leads with a Hitmontop, and this thing loves to use Counter. I want to ensure that it is not going to knock out Feraligatr in a single hit, so instead I just set up to +6 attack, ensuring that I will one-hit, and from there the remainder of his team just falls apart. Karen, unlike in Crystal, cannot use Sand Attack. She's going to be using Double Team from the Umbreon, so I can set up here almost for free. Now the Umbreon does still have Confuse Ray, which is a small flaw in this strategy, but it doesn't confuse Feraligatr, instead choosing Feint Attack, and as a result I am fully set up for the remainder of the battle. I outspeed all of her Pokemon except the Gengar, which I have a speed tie with. Luckily for me though, I win the tie and knock it out with a single crunch. Okay, so Lance is not going to stand in Feraligatr's way, right? This is going to be a clean sweep of the Elite Four and the Champion round 1. What could possibly go wrong against Lance? Well, I can set up Swords Dance against the Gyarados because it isn't doing very much damage, as you can see. I finally decide to attack, and I really want you to note here that I picked up the move Dragon Claw. If you're wondering where this TM is, it's where Solar Beam was in Generation 2. The more I reflect on this choice, the more it's a little bit wonky to me. Ice Fang probably would have just been enough. I don't really think I needed to grab this TM, and having a Dragon type move is like, it's cool. I rarely have Dragon type moves in these playthroughs, but it actually puts me in a little bit of a worse situation. By the time 2 of the Dragonites goes down, Lance sends in Aerodactyl, and it is faster than Feraligatr. It also has Thunder Fang, which is super effective, and it does so much damage, bringing me down from green health to 16 hit points. I was so worried, but Dragon Claw gets a critical hit, and his Rock type goes down. Feraligatr is faster than both of his remaining Pokemon, so I have finished the first round of the Elite Four. It's time for Kanto, and this is where some unexpected stuff happens. The first gym leader that I face is Sabrina. I figured this would be possible because I have access to Crunch, but notably her Espeon and the Alakazam are faster than Feraligatr. While I one-shot her lead, it still attacks with Psychic and does a lot of damage, bringing me under half health before the Alakazam comes in. It's faster, and it also has the Grass-type move Energy Ball. Because of this, Feraligatr faints and takes its second reset and third overall fault. This reset emphasizes just how much more important speed is in Pokemon HeartGold when compared with Crystal version. And I think that this might be a sign of bad things to come. For now though, I just fight Misty and do some other stuff in Kanto, leveling up a bit more before I face Sabrina again. I came back and I still wasn't over the speed threshold of the Espeon at only 131 speed, so it's a little bit risky fighting her now. I think I should have done it later if I wanted to be perfectly safe. Luckily though, the Espeon spends one turn on Calm Mind and I knock it out on the next turn, taking damage from Psychic. I might have less than half health, but it is enough to survive the Alakazam's Energy Ball and knock it out. From there, the Mr. Mime is an easy one-hit, so that's that for Sabrina. Brock's obviously extremely easy, although I play ping pong with his Omastar's HP bar, he heals it a bunch, and I just barely fail to get the knockout with a Waterfall. In scenarios like this, I should just use Swords Dance once when I anticipate a full restore and then knockout with Waterfall. Blaine is next. He is also really easy, and then I go up against Erica. Now, this fight is a little bit tricky for a couple of reasons. Number 1, I take super effective damage from Grass-type moves. Number 2, Sunny Day reduces the power of Waterfall. Number 3, all of her Pokemon have Chlorophyll, so she boosts her speed stats whenever she sets up with the sun. I make it by the Tangela on low health, and that doesn't put me in a good position. I am able to one-shot the Blossom with Dragon Claw. Jumpluff comes in, Dragon Claw gets the damage it needs, and that leaves only Victory Bell. Luckily for me, none of her Pokemon established the sun, so they're not fast, and as a result, I'm able to take the victory. Janine happens, I guess, and then I face Surge. I saved him for last because his Pokemon are quite fast, but I should have got past the Raichu as soon as possible, because if I don't, then it uses Thunder Wave and paralyzes Feraligatr. I had quite a good rhyme going there, but now I'm paralyzed and things are just not working out very well. That said, Surge just drops the ball. Like, the Electrode sets up with double team and I don't move for a long time. Eventually I knock it out with Waterfall. It could have hit me with Shockwave. I don't know why it wasn't attacking. Electabuzz attacks, but it doesn't do very much. I knock it out. Moving on to the Magneton, and it just sets up double team and I win. Okay then, it didn't matter that I got paralyzed. Okay, time for the final gym leader of the playthrough. Let's face Blue. Okay everyone, you need to pay attention. Check this out. Executor comes in, I set up Swords Dance, and then it goes for Leaf Storm and one-shots Feraligatr. Okay, so maybe turn 1 I should attack with Crunch and see if I can knock it out. And the answer is, I can. Next he sends in Rhydon, and I figured I wasn't going to take very much damage from it, so I can set up with Swords Dance here, and then knock it out using Waterfall at +4. Machamp falls to the Water-type move, so does Arcanine, and Pidgeot, leaving only Gyarados. For it I go for Dragon Claw, and it has enough damage. Okay, right now it feels like this video is going to be one of my shortest of the year. I don't really have a sense for how long each video is going to be while I record the voiceover because I improvise every single line. The way I used to do this was writing scripts, but then I wanted to speed up that process because it was very slow. It would take me more than 8 hours per episode. I tried to hire a writer, but that just didn't feel genuine, so I didn't end up using any of their work because I wanted it to feel like something I would say. Just to indulge in this aside a little bit because I love production stuff, I moved over to using voice to text to try and write the scripts faster and to get a more natural spoken tone. This did work, but then I realized, why am I even writing a script and recording this later? If I'm just speaking the lines into the computer anyways, I should just record what I'm saying about the gameplay. So that's how we arrived at this current process. And it is far more fun and far faster. That said, there is a consequence to doing things this way. The episodes tend to run a little bit long because I can indulge in a little bit more rambling here and there like I'm doing right now. Plus, I have no idea how long each episode is going to be while I'm recording it. So I don't know how long this video is going to end up being, but it seems like Feraligatr is just speeding through the game. And as you can see here, it's also speeding through the league rematches. Well, there are some surprises still coming, and Koga is one of them. Okay, first of all, I have given a small disclaimer in all of my other videos that the abilities listed on the right-hand side of the screen for trainer Pokemon are often wrong. There was an error with our data collection process and we had to correct it later on. That is still the case in this video. So you can see that Toxicroak is saying that it has anticipation, but it actually has dry skin. So I attack into it with Waterfall and then get confused with Swagger. And in confusion, it essentially knocks itself out. Okay, so that was bad. By the way, for anyone who's wondering, the next 2 videos after this one will still have the wrong abilities, but then they will be corrected following that. I took a blackout and fought Will again just to level up a little bit more. Like, why not? It's so close to the beginning of the league and Will is trivial. Thing is, Koga's not actually that easy. Previously I set up on the Skuntank and it used Dig, but this time it doesn't, instead choosing Toxic. And I don't have a Pecha Berry, so that's a loss. I tried again, once again Toxic, so another quick reset. In the end, I finally teach Earthquake in the place of Crunch and just one-shot the Skuntank so that it can't use Toxic against me. I can also use Earthquake to one-shot the Toxicroak, avoiding Swagger, and then this move continues being fantastic against his ace Swalot. Waterfall one-hits Venomoth. I have to two-shot the Crobat and he uses a full restore here, as well as hitting me with Fly once, but it's not enough to do critical damage. Muck goes down to one-shot from Earthquake, and so Koga was a little bit bumpy. Number 1, there was some incorrect information which made me use a bad move. Then I got hit by a bunch of Toxics. I think the solution for that fight is just get a Pecha Berry earlier on in the department store and then use that berry here to avoid Toxic on turn 1, set up with Swords Dance and then sweep. Okay, Bruno, he's really simple. I can set up on the Hitmontop and then sweep the rest of his team. Karen is the same. The Weavile is not a threat. I set up and then I sweep her team. Moving on to Lance. This is where things get difficult. I think Lance 2 might be one of the most difficult solo challenge battles that I have on my channel so far. I remember going into the Platinum series thinking that Cynthia was going to be that, but Lance really is so much more impactful. Although I have heard there's a rematch for Cynthia, so I should start doing that sometime soon. That's really the only way to fairly compare these two battles. The issue for Feraligatr is that while I can knock out the Salamence, I have almost no health remaining after that. And I currently don't have a good move for the Gyarados, so I get a quick reset here. Here's the thing, in the previous battle I only set up to +1 attack. That's obviously just not the right choice. I need to set up as much as possible against against the Salamence and then try and sweep. I can go all the way to +5 before my health starts getting a little bit too low, so I figured this was the time to start attacking. I one-shot the Salamence, one-shot the Gyarados with Dragon Claw, now I have +4 attack, but I am super effective against the Garchomp, the Dragonite, and the Altaria which follow, and I can one-hit all of them. That leaves only Charizard, but I am faster than it and I have a type advantage, so even though my health is very low, I knock it out and League Round 2 is done. There's only one trainer left, so let's jump right into the fight against Red and see if Feraligatr can maybe, just maybe, pull off a sub 2 hour and 30 minute time. Pikachu is first. It's also faster than Feraligatr by 6 points, so it moves first, uses Thunderbolt, and does so much damage. Actually, almost enough to one-shot. If it had gone for Volt Tackle, I would have been one-hit. Either way, it doesn't matter because Hail finishes Feraligatr. Okay, so the 2 hour and 30 minute time is not going to be possible. Instead, I'm going to collect more rare candies and try and outspeed the Pikachu because that seems like the most sensible thing to do. I come back at level 87. Now I have 192 speed, so I can move first against all of Red's Pokemon. Earthquake one-shots his lead, and then he sends in Venusaur. Okay, I don't really have a good move against this Pokemon. Maybe I can set up Swords Dance once, survive one hit, and then sweep his team. Luckily for me, the Venusaur misses Sleep Powder, but then Return is not able to one-shot, and he does massive damage on the next turn with Giga Drain. I knock out the Grass type, but then I'm left on low health, and this is not going to be possible now because I'm taking Hail damage every turn. Plus, I'm not able to one-hit the Blastoise. I tried out the Shell Bell to see if I could recover enough health using this item, but it's just not doing what it needs to do. I think I need a different approach for the Venusaur. If I head back to the route between Violet City and Azalea Town, I can surf over here and pick up a Heart Scale. This is the only one available in Johto. There is one in Vermilion City later on, but that isn't relevant for this playthrough. I only need one. I go to the Move House in Blackthorn City, use the Move Deleter to get rid of Waterfall, and then the Move Reminder to teach Ice Fang in its place. I tested out Return to see if it would one-shot the Pikachu. The answer is no, don't do that. You have to use Earthquake on the first turn, so that's simple. Then against the Venusaur, I wanted to set up one Swords Dance and knock it out with Ice Fang. This doesn't work unless I have a Chesto Berry, as you can see here, because I get put to sleep and then Feraligatr falls apart. I got greedy and tried to set up Swords Dance twice against the Venusaur and I get put to sleep again, having another loss. Then I try +2 on the Venusaur to knock it out with Ice Fang, and this barely just doesn't do enough damage. I tried to squeeze in one more Swords Dance again. This is not the right approach. The correct thing to do is just one Swords Dance, or 2 if the Venusaur misses with Sleep Powder, which is what happens here. Because of that, I'm at green health for the Blastoise, and I'm not going to take a lot of damage from it, so I set up Swords Dance one more time, going to +6 before the remainder of his team. Return one-shots the Water type, Snorlax falls to a single hit as well, so does Lapras, leaving only Charizard. And of course, I don't need Waterfall for it, Return does more than enough. Feraligatr clocks in with a final time of 2 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds. With 15 resets, 1 blackout to level 87, with a game time of 8 hours and 26 minutes. Okay, so that's all the starters in Pokemon HeartGold. Let's put these results side by side and see how they all stacked up. Feraligatr was obviously by far the best, but Meganium took a surprising second place. I think most people will think that Typhlosion is the second best starter, but overall, Meganium is just much more solid because it has access to Swords Dance. If you didn't allow Voltorb Flip in the same way that I do, then perhaps Meganium is significantly worse than Typhlosion, but that's not a scenario I'm interested in exploring right now. I want to continue with this series, test out this methodology, and see how things go. Just maybe HeartGold is going to continue being very difficult. So far, it has at least been a major upgrade over Pokemon Crystal. That game is very easy to solo run, but this game is proving to be quite difficult. And tomorrow, I think it might continue being difficult because I'm going to try the game with an electric type. So tune in when I play with the Ampharos line. If you support me on Patreon or through YouTube memberships, thank you so much, it means the world to me. Daily December continues tomorrow with another HeartGold video. Now, if you've made it this far, you are incredible. I'll see you then.